My guy, Chris Taylor. How we
What's up,
living?
Chris?
How
Man,
we
we
living?
good. We good. We outside, the sun's shining, life is
I,
good.
I
Yeah.
dig it. I gotta tell you, it's beautiful in your background. I know from the palm trees, you're in my home state. You're in San Diego right now, right?
I am. Yeah, I've been here for I guess about 8 years now, so long enough to not get lost anymore. So
Okay.
yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah.
What parts of San Diego are you in?
So I've been in mostly the North Park, South Park area for the
Okay.
past little bit, which is cool. It's pretty central, whether you're downtown, beaches, wherever you want to go, it's all like 15-minute drive. So it
Hell
makes it
yeah.
easy.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. I was born and raised in California, Southern California. So I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, but
Cool.
I was a big surfer, skateboarder, and I had family that lived in like the Rancho Bernardo Poway area. And
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
I was like, give me some wheels, put me over in La Jolla, and dude, just rocking all summers out there.
Man, you were living a good life growing up. That's
Oh,
cool.
you already know, man. You already
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I always a skateboard in my hand, a surfboard in my truck, like any opportunity to just go and cash some waves real quick, which full disclosure was always terrible at, am still terrible at it. But there's just
Yeah.
something about getting the crap beat out of you by the ocean that is just, oh, it's reviving, man.
Yeah, and humbling. Yeah.
Super humbling, I had to catch my breath a few times. I won't lie to you. I won't lie to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
So that's
Well, it's
dope.
funny. It's funny you say that because I mean I didn't grow up here, but my son is only about 15 months old, and he's like already showing signs of like that Cali boy life.
I
Like
love
I'm
it.
like he just needs a burrito, get him a
Get it.
skateboard, he'll be good. Yeah.
Dude, I saw he's even turning into a little bit of a sneakerhead, huh? I saw him rocking with some kicks.
Man, in our house, it's funny. Like my wife and I, we just enable each other with our sneaker addiction. So like, it's
Love
not like
it, bro.
one of us can keep one in check. We're like, should you get that? And we're each like, yeah, we're just gassing each other up to get those
Hell
sneakers.
yeah.
So yeah, he's his. I think he has more than us probably at this point.
Hell yeah. So it stemmed from you and your wife. You guys are sneakerheads also.
Oh yeah, I mean, she grew up in New York City, so
Okay.
she was
Of
grew up with
course.
it, and then I grew up in Memphis. So like, I think both of us just kind of like just around that culture from a long time, and we just stick
No.
with it. So
Dude,
yeah.
I dig it, man. I'm not so much of a sneakerhead. In fact, I'm actually pretty boring with my kicks. I have worn Chucks
Okay. Okay.
probably for the last 7 years. And when it's the same, it's the black. I mean, shoot, dude, it's the black and whites, like
You keep
no
it simple.
question.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
once they break, I know my size. I just go and get the exact same pair. And so I'm
Yeah.
pretty boring, but I
Hey, man.
appreciate the sneaker hustle, bro.
Yeah, my wallet doesn't always appreciate it,
Oh,
but
I
it's
bet.
fun. So yeah.
That
So yeah,
that's probably
I
what turned
like
me
your.
away from it.
I was gonna say, man, you on a level of simplicity that is not bad. So
No, for sure, for sure. Tight jeans, t-shirt, and some Chucks, baby. That's my game. That's my
the
game for
CW
sure.
uniform right
You
there.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? You know what I mean?
I
Let me
love it.
see, bro. So I was spying on your LinkedIn, okay?
Yeah.
That's kind
Yeah.
of in my gang. Noticed something really dope about your
Yeah.
history, a little bit synergetic to my history, my family's history, is that
Yeah.
my boy, were you Sigma Phi Epsilon at University of Memphis?
I was. I
Get
was.
in,
You too?
fellow Sig Ep, brother.
I
Welcome to
love
the
that. I didn't even.
brotherhood.
Oh, I missed that. I love
My
that.
whole family, dude, from my
Oh, no
dad to
kidding.
my dad's dad, we have been Sig Ep, live and breathe. Like it's been in my whole family. So I wanted to ask,
Oh, that's cool.
what,
You a legacy. Yeah.
bro, you already know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my dad is still on that like monthly, like, or the annual book that they release of like the
Like a little
legacy
like
members.
update. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That's
I'm in
cool.
it, bro. But
Now, you guys all at the same school or were at different schools?
well, it was all at Cal State Northridge.
All at
Not for
Cal
my
State,
dad. I
man.
think my dad was in like Ohio or something like that.
Mm.
But for me and my brother, we were SIG Eps over at CSUN.
Oh, that's cool.
What was the chapter house life at, or like at your university? Was it sick?
It was so we were in SEC countries. Like Memphis is surrounded by like tons of it, and those. I mean,
Hell
I'll,
yeah.
I'll be the first to be like we're not at that level. Like you go to
Yo,
some of these chapters, like I mean these sorority houses or frat houses are just mansions.
mansions. Yeah, you
Yeah,
already, yeah.
yeah. Oh man, yeah, dude. It's a level up. But ours was we had a nice house. I mean, it was not size wise, not that big, but it was nice. It had been built not long before I joined, and I lived in it for, man, almost full, like 2.5 years of my
Okay,
college
no, hell
experience
yeah,
was in
you
the
gotta live
house.
in it at least for a year just to like
Yeah.
experience that level of chaos, bro. Like,
Well, and I knew I was like, when am I ever gonna get this chance again to just be like, the whole crew right here, and you know how it is.
no,
You
for
walk
sure.
downstairs, there's always something going on. It was just like I gotta take advantage now before I get too old.
No, for
So
sure. No, for bro,
yeah,
you got to live in any
yeah,
of the fraternity houses. It's funny, I was going to say, so when we were going through the ceremony process, I
mm,
remember one of our brothers was like, "Oh yeah, this is a dope frat house." And one of the chapter presidents was like, "Don't ever use that word frat. Would you call your country a cunt?" And he was like, no sir,
oh,
no sir. And so I've almost had it like broken into me that anytime I'm talking about fraternity legacy, you got to say the whole word fraternity, you feel
there
me?
you go, there you go, yeah.
I did one trip, I think it was University of Florida, was
Oh, Gainesville,
maybe
yeah.
the
Shout out to
sick,
Florida for winning the national championship last
get
week.
it,
So
get
yeah,
it.
yeah,
But the sickest sig ep house that I have ever seen
yeah,
is one of those like adjacent to SEC. I never been inside of any of those SEC houses, but kind of roam the areas and just
yeah, man.
colossal. Like, oh my God. So
It's
that's
a
dope.
different level, man. It's like it's crazy. I went to, same, like you kind of do like road trips and stuff in college, go to games, whatever, and you see those and you're like, man, this is crazy.
No, for
Yeah,
sure. That's so cool,
yeah,
man. Hell yeah. We already in
yeah.
that, brother.
I
Two
love it. I
bearded
totally missed
Chris's.
that.
That's great.
Yeah,
You know what? I don't think
yeah.
I have that anywhere posted on my LinkedIn. I gotta slap it up there.
Maybe that's why. But I was like, I thought I would have seen that. Yeah,
That's something to cherish for sure. No, definitely.
that's
So
cool,
dope,
man. That's
man.
what's up.
Let me see. I got one for you. How much does moving suck?
I saw my post, man. Whew. I'll tell you what, man. It is a beast, and I know everybody knows that, but like this is our first time moving with a baby, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh man, and they
No.
cute. They try to help. They're like, oh, what's this? Let me. And it's
No,
just
for
like,
sure.
it's like he
Opening
looks super cute.
boxes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 but like not helpful. So
No, definitely not. But I saw you only moved just a little bit down the road from where you were at before, but you're in the
yeah,
bigger
man.
and the better and it's new. So I mean that's gotta be dope, dude. Are you already over there right now? Are you guys in it?
Moving day is tomorrow,
Okay.
so yeah, we've kind of been prepping all week. But yeah,
That's
so
why
it's I
you're
mean it's nice.
outside.
Like yeah, the inside is chaotic
For
right
sure,
now.
bro. Oh, I
Yeah,
know,
so
man. I
yeah,
know. That's
yeah, but
cool.
it's good. I mean, I'm
I
grateful we're
just
not
moved
moving
into
like
this joint,
out of
so I
state.
feel you. What were you saying?
I said I'm grateful we're not moving like cross country or anything. It could always be worse, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I did
it
one
is
of
what it is.
those.
Well, you get. I mean, you just moved. You just did. You just moved, so you get it. You've been in that
Yeah.
chaos.
No,
Yeah.
but I did kind of the same thing as you. So I transplanted from Cali to Texas about 6 years ago, and
Mhm.
I was renting a house, but then we were like, oh, shoot, we could probably buy a house over here. So then I moved into kind of a smaller house, and then the
Mhm.
market rose, and me and my wife are going like, hey, man, if we sell this bad boy, we could actually purchase like a real house. And so
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
finally did that, and now we are in. This is my forever home. And I only say
Oh,
that
congrats.
because moving sucks so much. I'll never do it again.
Yeah. I know, man. It's like if you can get it, if you can lock in that like long term place, I mean, that's money.
No,
Now
for
you
sure.
know, remind me again, what part of Texas you're in?
I'm in Houston area.
Houston. Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
All
So
right, man. I just gave Florida a shout out for winning, but you're in Houston
no, for sure.
country right
Hey,
now. So
we
yeah,
pulling through. We got it. I
yeah,
mean, you know,
yeah. It's tough.
but yeah, my favorite city though in Houston right now is Austin. I have to say for sure. I'm a big
Oh
like
yeah,
God, I listen to Joe Rogan. I'm big in like the comedy scene, your
mm,
Bert Kreischers, your Shane Gillises and whatnot. And so obviously
yeah,
Joe opened up that comedy mothership in Austin and
mm.
it is just such an elect and oh my gosh, I love that city. It's about 2 hours for me, but I try and scoop over there whenever I can.
Oh, Austin's great, man. It doesn't, and it's like it's such a unique in a good way, like part of Texas.
Yeah.
It's got great music. It's got just cool, like I don't know. It's just a great time. Like they throw, and also like the events they throw, like South by Southwest, ACL. Like they know how
No,
to throw a
for
party.
sure. For sure, man.
Yeah,
For
no, I
sure.
love me some Austin for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, you kind of stem from that like middle of the country, like, hey man, there's not much else to do except for get out there, you know? So I'm all about it.
Yeah, you got to have that good food when you live like, well, at least for now, I live nowhere near the ocean. And we just talked about like ocean life, you get all this stuff. And so when you're more inland like that, it's just like the ways the entertainment comes different, like the music, the food, it manifests differently.
No, definitely, definitely. Let's see, man. All right, let's go on the business end of this because I want to hear a little bit about what you've been up to. So,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but you got a history of managing strategic partnership over at Microsoft, and now you're a founding sales lead with what? New Charter Technologies? Like, what does
Mhm.
that company do? What do you guys do over
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in tech for this is my about a decade now. So yeah, most of that has been in startups. Like the reason I ended up at Microsoft is because we got bought. So I was with the startup here in SD. We were ed tech, and then was there for a bit, and we kind of unexpectedly got acquired, and we were like, wow, that's really cool. Wouldn't have guessed it'd be Microsoft, but
Yeah.
it just kind of reached out, and so yeah, that's kind of how I got there. And then my role evolved. I was started off as biz dev guy, and kind of rose the ranks there, and then moved over to partnership just because it was like, when you get acquired, they're just like, okay, how do we map you to where we need? So roles evolve and kind of things shift when that happens. That's kind of how I got there. And then when that chapter ended, part of the mass layoffs that tech has gone through in the past, 5 years, I know it's been
And
it's been
still
kind of
currently a little
it's
bit,
still
you know
going
what I
on.
mean?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough period. So our team was impacted by that, but yeah, so more recently, I've moved up into like more leadership roles where I'm, kind of like, which has been fun. Still in startups. That's who I am. My core. I love startup life because you get to kind of be a part of building and shaping something, and
Yeah.
kind of like, as opposed to it being super established yet. So yeah, it's been fun. Like that's where I'm at now. It's IT, cybersecurity space. So it's been
Dope.
cool to kind of be in that role where you're, directly making an impact, but also kind of building, shaping, whether it's like processes, whether it's a team, just being able to have kind of a larger role with more responsibility, it's been a lot of fun. So,
No, for
yeah,
sure. I gotta
yeah.
say, I'm kind of jealous. I was talking to somebody last week who has only worked at startups also, and I've never done that. Is like I work
Mm,
for a
mm.
firm that's been around for 30 years, like tried and tested. There's no more A/B testing. It's just this works. This is
Yeah,
what we
yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, dude, I'm super jealous just because that fast-paced environment, and if there's a problem, it's like, "Yo, we fix this thing right now. Are you kidding me? We're trying to
Right, right.
grow and scale." And so I just feel like it's a different business as usual day-to-day lifestyle when you are a part of something where ultimately you're trying to scale it upwards from, like, the ground floor. So that's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the startup life. There are certain risks that come with that when you're
For
going more kind
sure.
of upstart, that and there's also different a big part of what I learned is there's like the startup name can be pretty broad encompassing. You can be like, trying to establish product market fit, or you can be like, hey, that's been established. Now we're looking to scale. So there's kind of different maturity levels for lack of a better word in terms of where
Yeah.
you come in, but that part's cool too. But yeah, I will say it's fun, and our going back to your question about New Charter, we're a bit unique in the sense that we're a platform that's comprised of locally based MSPs, like managed service providers for IT.
Okay.
So when they get rolled up into our platform, like, in many cases they're very established and mature organizations. So the New Charter kind of this unified brand would be new,
Mhm.
but we're comprised of some companies that have been around a bit. So we're kind of like, support. So the things we're doing to support their growth, that feels very startup,
Okay.
adjacent in terms of kind of
Yeah,
building and
yeah.
scaling. But we have the luxury of working with some partners who are just crushing it and have been crushing it. And so we get to lean on that collective kind of expertise and everything,
That's
which has been
sick.
helpful. So you kind of
That's
get the best
sick.
of both. Yeah.
No, so let me lean into it a little bit more. So, and I mean, like, I'm technologically like stupid, so to speak. And so, like, why would I hit up New Charter? Like, how would I find myself on your website? What would the benefit for me be at being onto your platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's nice about how we're structured and kind of the whole origin of like why this came about is that it allows you to have maintain that level of localized support that oftentimes SMBs look for. I
Hmm.
want to be able to, especially in like the IT security where it's such an intricate part and complex part of your business, and also so critical. It's like you want to have that relationship based kind of direct access community feel of with people that can like help with that area. But when you work with a company like ours, it's like there's really no limit to the scope of which we can help because we have a team, like
Yeah.
a growing team. And so we have collective shared expertise, knowledge. And so you kind of get, as if you're coming, it's like, oh, I can maintain this local feel, but wow, I've got a ton of firepower, at my
Yeah,
back to help
yeah.
me. And that's something that oftentimes you have to kind of pick one or the other. It's like I can either go ton of firepower, but it might feel more corporate or a little bit more, less of a relationship. Or it could be, man, like love the feel and the community that I get, but there might be a limit to kind of the scope of what they can offer me. So you get the best of both.
Dang, man, that's actually so dope. I
Hmm.
didn't like, and dude, that's my favorite part of talking to people that I meet on LinkedIn. Like, I didn't think of the benefit of leaning into locality and what some of the
Mm.
benefits, especially for growth and partnership. Like, again, I work for a firm that we service like debt in over 170 countries. So
Oh
we
wow. Okay.
we kind of like flip the script on locality in a big
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
I'm
Totally.
almost always talking to people that are not in my time zone type of thing. But
Right, right.
dang, there's gotta be something so tangible to like, I don't know, the first thing that comes to my head is like a restaurant. Like we do
Mm.
farm to market here. I know you're familiar with that. Like
Mhm,
where,
mhm,
yo, dude, this beef came from a farm that was only 5 miles down the road, as
mm.
opposed to stuff being imported, frozen, so on. And so like turning that type of concept into the business world, I'm sure you guys like nurture and foster some tremendous relationships inside of the community as well. That's so
Totally,
fire.
totally. It's been cool, man, and, like, a lot of when we work in areas, because we're not always in, like, big cities, we do
Yeah.
have a presence, like, the Houstons of the world and LAs and stuff, but we also have in smaller communities, and I think that is I think the relationship even matters more in that because it's just more kind of embedded in the fabric of that area, and so it
Dang.
matters, and so it's cool that we get to maintain that.
That's so fire.
Yeah.
And so what, do you guys have like a Rolodex if I'm like, hey, look, I operate in every single state. I really want this type of support in Michigan, for
Mhm.
instance. And then I could go on your platform and find what type of different support organizations or things that are adjacent to what I'm looking for in that area code or in that state, and then kind of carry the football from there. Is that what it kind of looks like?
That's definitely part of it. Like part of it is just very like geo based, kind of who's like from a proximity standpoint, who would be my
Mhm.
boots on the ground, that kind of thing. But a lot of it too is just different because we have such a broad team. They have different areas of expertise. So
Okay.
some of it can be driven by like what specific needs you have. Like maybe if you're in a specific industry like healthcare,
Yeah.
that has a little bit more complexity in terms of compliance requirements, HIPAA, things like that. You might want to work with a team who really specializes in that, regardless of geography. So it's usually kind of a blend of like the geolocation, and then there's also ways to collaborate. Like, oh, you might have this local team kind of be your point of contact, kind of manage the relationship. We're going to loop in some other areas, maybe even if they're cross country. We want to tap into their expertise to help with your solution.
That's
Yeah,
so fire, man.
yeah,
That's like a business concept that I would have never even thought of. And like,
yeah.
look, obviously I've been on the new charter site. I've seen your guys' trajectory. Like, silly to almost call it a startup. You guys look like you're growing into like a 10-ton beast in this space that, like, what's your competition look like? It's got to be minimal. Like, who else is doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's unique, like, in a good way, and
Yeah,
that's
hell
what I was
yeah.
saying that's what I was saying before, it's like, even though some of the things that we're doing in the new charter level are kind of like a little bit on the newer side and we're kind of building, like, it doesn't always feel like that because we have this, like, platform of these super established veterans with tons of knowledge, so it's kinda neat, yeah.
Okay, sick, man. Dang, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just like fire peppering you with questions right now. So you could
No,
you
it's
could
good,
you
I
could
love
tell
it.
me to take a seat whenever.
I love it, I love it.
I do got one more. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
I
go
got one
for it.
more on deck is
Hit me
because
with
I
it.
love sales. I saw obviously you've been living in that sales world. So I just want to like pick your brain a little bit about what your day to day is in terms of, is it mainly outbound? Is it mainly inbound that you're getting? What's your position on like cold calls? Are you a
Mm,
permission based opener type of guy, or do you go straight for the kill? Like just talk to me
yeah.
about your sales psychology and like how you make it work to be successful.
Yeah, yeah. So in terms of kind of what the role itself looks like, so where our team has historically been like crushing it at is like the more kind of relationship based stuff, like whether it's like events or having really high retention of clients and being able to leverage that into like referrals, like crush it at that.
Cool.
Part of what kind of we bring on it is just kind of expanding our outbound motion, especially now that we live like AI is such a buzzword. It's
Yeah.
used thrown around all the time, and it's just like, but it's like, and it's used in a variety of functions. But in sales purely, man, I know this. Like AI has unlocked so much in terms of outbound. It's allowed us to create like hyper accurate signal based outreach in a way at a scale that just wasn't possible before,
Yeah.
and so it's been cool to kind of step into this role, and it's like, all right, let's kind of build a foundation and expand it. Oh, by the way, we also happen to be in a time when AI is allowing us to do things at scale in terms of that, uh, you know, hyper relevant signal based messaging that we just would take so long before to do. So it's been cool
Yeah.
to kind of have those two things happen at the same time. So that's a big part of what I'm doing is kind of building that out and scaling it. And then yeah, in terms of kind of my philosophy, it's like I guess at a high level, I just think that it's been fun. Like that's my favorite thing. It's like being able to kind of be on the be a part of like this shift that's taking place in
Yeah.
sales, where it's like where really this is all kind of new, the ability to do this and to have the tools at our disposal that unlock this. And so I just think it's fun about, and I'm very big on the multi-channel approach, just really understanding the importance of like, because for us, at least, there's so much nuance between different markets, different industries, where decision makers are, where they're not. So it really comes down to just like not being too locked into a one size fits all approach in
Yeah.
terms of like, oh, I only do this, or I'm an outbound guy who does this. Like, no,
Yeah.
it's like that adding that versatility of understanding the nuances of who you're trying to target, how they operate, what they care about, and then kind of understanding how to add that versatility so that you're just giving yourself more opportunities.
Bro, I love that. I love that so hard. And I'm going to take that word that you used because I think the differentiator is signal based approach. Is that, especially with AI, there's so many clowns that are just doing like the spray and pray. You know what I mean? Oh, I could use AI to get my hands on 5,000 leads. Let me just drum up a little crappy email template and fire it out to the world. And as a result, because that's occurring at such a high volume, it kind of makes our job harder to stand out. And so when you're relying on a signal based approach or you're using like intent scoring from any of those lead gen sites to go like, dude, this guy actually has a need. This guy's in the market for this. It is
Right.
just such a clutch use of the technology to bridge those two
Totally.
gap. Like that's fire. And I wish that
Yeah,
more
man.
people had that approach that you take. Everyone listening, signal based approach, intent
Yeah.
approach. Like, don't just spray and pray, man. It doesn't
No,
work
and
anymore.
and I always think about just like, what would you do in real life? I always think about like approaching, starting conversations, whether it's a prospect list, like how would you want to do that? And it's like if you and I were just kicking it at a bar, and like, we just met and I was just like, hey Chris, I hope this beer finds you well. You know what I mean? Like who talks like that?
Yeah,
You know
who
what I
the
mean?
hell,
Like who's gonna
bro?
but yet we email like that, And so but
Dude.
if I instead took a few minutes and I was like, yo, Chris, like I noticed you used to coach, which I want to get to in a second,
All
and like
right.
saw that you pivoted to sales. That's really cool. Here's maybe XYZ, implications that come from that make good for a good conversation start. You're gonna pay attention a lot more because you're
A
like, oh
hundred
man, this
percent.
guy this guy's stepping into my world. He's kind of coming to me on my terms. And
Yeah.
so it takes this kind of like super canned generic thing and makes it very relevant to what's going on in your life. I think it's just, people respond better.
No, so spot on. Dang. I hope this beer finds you. I promise you the next bar I'm at, I'm gonna say that to a stranger next to me.
Yeah.
I'll give you the
Yeah.
feedback on how it goes.
Yeah. Let me
I
know how
bet
it goes. Yeah.
I won't get through the door, but I'm gonna try
Yeah.
anyways.
Worth a
Hope this
shot.
That's so funny, bro. That's so funny. So shoot, man, yeah. I used to coach. That was my thing. That's what got me into leadership. I
Love it.
coached women's soccer of all things. Are you into soccer? You like it?
So we just got a team here in San Diego,
Yeah.
MLS team, an expansion team. So I think like I'll be the first to admit I'm not like I didn't grow up a soccer guy or anything. I was a hooper,
Get it.
but played some golf too because they like the off seasons really matched up well.
Yeah, yeah.
But I will say, like, having a team here now, you just it kinda sucks you into rooting for 'em more. So,
No,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
I'm an English Premier League guy. So like I followed
Okay,
Manchester
okay.
United my whole life. We have a local team here, Houston Dynamo. Maybe
Oh,
been
yeah,
to
yeah,
a
yeah.
handful of games, but I mean, yeah, dude, I still live and breathe soccer all day long.
I love that.
And
I love that.
it's cool. So look, here's not a planned question, but now that we're on it, is so I see a lot of synergies behind my experience playing sports or even coaching sports that are just without question fundamentals of how I do my corporate America life. whether it's
Mm.
discipline, how you talk to people, and during difficult situations and pushing through. Like, do experience, I'm sure like you said, you were a hooper. Are there things like that that you're like, dang, man, this experience on the court has really translated into how I could be successful in the office?
Yeah, I mean, I think like this makes me laugh. I don't know where I heard this, but I heard this quote that was like sales, the place where failed athletes go, or something like that. And it made me laugh because
But it's so true.
I was like, man, I started thinking about it. I was like, I know a lot of former athletes who go into sales. So like, yeah. And so I think any time, and for me, like basketball and golf are so different. So like what I
Yeah.
got out of them was so different in terms of like what they taught me and all that. But I think like, yeah, any kind of background in sports, I think there's just like some fundamental things you learn about like the discipline you need, the kind of like understanding. I think for me, a lot of it is like mindset, like the putting the reps in. You know what I mean? It's
Uh-huh.
like I thinking about it, it's like, okay, if I want to get to like if I'm here in terms of my development and I want to get to here, I've got to the repetition is going to putting the time in, putting the work in, being consistent and showing up. That's how I do it. And I think that applies to sales or anything. Like,
Oh, hell
man,
yeah.
you're not just going to wake up one day and and be at this next level. Like the reps, you got to put those reps in. And I think that mindset really helped me when I first got started. Because I'll be the first to admit, when I first jumped in, like I struggled a little bit in
Oh,
sales. Like
for sure. Me
I
too.
didn't come out of the yeah, you too. Yeah, I didn't come out of the gate like swinging, So,
Yeah.
but I think I was just willing to kind of be coachable and put the time in, and that's kind of what got me to where I am now.
Dude, I think that's such a strong point. You're right, man. It's the reps,
That's
it's
the
that
reps, yeah.
repetition, like get to work, man. Rinse and
Put
repeat
the work
until you
in.
get there for sure.
And I
That
think
super
something that
translates.
athletes Yeah, and I think one thing I think that a lot of athletes have that at least that I've met are really good at this is like that ability to kind of like take constructive feedback. Because I think that just this whole idea of like not taking things personal and realizing that it's like because it isn't like I'm sure you went through this with your when you were coaching. It's like if you're doing a film session or whatever, it's like, hey, I'm gonna call you out. It's not personal. It's just
Yeah.
like I'm telling you this so that you can have something constructive to use to get better. I think a lot of athletes that are kind of more used to hearing that. So like when it comes to that same thing, like in sales, like, oh yeah, I'm glad. Like I watched the film or the sales
No, for
film and I got
sure.
better.
Yeah, dang, dude, that's such a strong point. Because also I think that it keeps you humble. The thing that's super cool about playing any sport is you're around people who are way better than you. Either there's somebody on
Bro,
your
all the
team
time.
or you're
Yeah,
playing against somebody and you're like, bro, this number 10 on the opposite side is
killing
like
us. Yeah,
bonkers,
yeah,
you know? And
yeah.
so I think it keeps you humble. Whereas like in the office, you could be like the hottest thing on the street in your office, and you're very rarely facing other people like in your tangible dialogue day to day where you're like, oh dang, dude, this guy is like schooling me right now.
Oh
And
yeah,
so I
totally.
think that's a cool carryover. That's such a great point that you made is, you're always fighting and rinse and repeating those reps to get better. And
Oh
that
yeah.
complacency is like, that's not a thing. And the moment that you get complacent, like I got complacent eventually with soccer, and man, that age group left your boy behind. Like your boy don't play
Yeah,
any, you know what I mean? So it's
yeah.
super sink or swim. So that's dope, bro.
Yeah, man. I always think about how like, I sleep in like a somewhat weird position and my hip hurts and I wake up and LeBron's 40 and still dunking. So I'm
Yeah,
like, that just shows
bro.
you,
If that doesn't go,
yeah.
dude, knife to the heart, right? You're like,
Yeah, right.
get
It's like,
up,
all right,
Chris. Come on,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. So it just shows how consistency matters.
That's so funny, dude. That's hilarious. Well, shoot, dude. We're at about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We got enough content here. I can stop the recording real quick.